Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So this week's video is a bit of a mishmash, pretty much me just doing bits of work as and when I could in the shrimp room. Loads of bloopers, loads of errors in it as always. What you see is what you get. Any mistakes that I make will be in there. Any problems that I get with the tanks will be in there. I'm quite keen on sort of sharing all the information, not just editing out the good bits. So this week's video is sort of the life of a shrimp keeper, just maintaining the room really. It's nothing special. There's no specific sort of agenda to this one. It is literally just a bit of a blog of what I've been doing this week. Next week's video hopefully will be slightly different. I've got a bit of a subject to go on with that one, but with all that being said and done, let's get to the video. Gotta love a new shrimp day. So we've got some more tangerine tigers from a friend Daniel to bolster this colony that sort of died off a bit and started. Lights have just come on, so they've started breeding again. We do have a few babies in there, as you can see, but I just wanted to sort of try and bolster the colony. If they'd have had the amount of babies that they'd had before I ordered the shrimp, I probably wouldn't have done that. So this is what I do. I've got a large heavy air stone connected to an air pipe down to a tap, and then if I just siphon that, so let's just give that a quick suck, and then at the moment I'm going to stop that because it's way too high. I'm just going to put the phone down in a second, guys. So I'll put it on this tank so you can maybe see something in there. And what I was keen to do was show you guys the drip rate that I use. So literally 1 a second, and I'm in no rush. I've got this sort of stood up, it drops into the bucket, and what I'll do is I'll let that run for about an hour. Some people do these quick. I know that these have come from probably 5.5 pH, and I know that this gives me 6.2 to 6.5. So what I'll do is I'll drip this for a long period of time. Once that's doubled, I may increase the drip rate a little bit, but let me just show you that again. It is literally about 1 drop per second. So once that volume's doubled, I may increase that to 2 drops per second or something like that, but that's how I do it, and I'm quite comfortable to sit and drip for hours. You know, I'd be happy to sit and fill this bucket up over a day, but a couple of hours or an hour or so is usually pretty good. Massive advocate of quarantining if you don't know where the shrimp have come from, and the way to quarantine would be to put a breeder box on this. I don't know if I've got one to hand. Put a breeder box, you know, the hang-on type, on the sides of the tank, and sort of put a bit of soil in there and stuff, and a bit of moss, make them feel comfortable, but keep them separate from your main tank, just so if you've got any bacterial problems or any diseases, those diseases aren't going into the tank. And it's sort of a lot of the diseases are transmitted by shrimp eating dead shrimp, so it's always a good idea, if you don't know the source, to actually put them in a hang-on breeder box, an air-driven hang-on breeder box. It's not what I do. I wish I had with my tangerines, because they were doing really, really well, and I bought some off eBay, and it pretty much wiped out my colony. I think we got down to 6 from probably 60, 80, and they're only just starting to recover. You know, they're only just starting to give me babies and stuff, those 6. I have seen a buried female in here, and hence me sort of getting these. Now you'd think once bitten, twice shy, but because I know the source of these and I know where they've come from, I'm comfortable to do that. If I'd bought off eBay or an unknown seller, then I definitely have done this differently. I would have put them in a breeder box, you know, once bitten, twice shy and all that. So just while we're here, my PRL are a lot more active since we moved them, like very active. They're mooching around, they're picking through the substrate, they're on the move constantly, which is good to see. So I anticipate seeing a bit of an explosion once these sort of start to breed and get buried. This tank and this tank are both on Aquasolum. You don't really need to cycle Aquasolum, but I like to give it 5 or 6 weeks and get a bit of algae on the walls. There's not massive amounts, but there's enough, and I'm sort of comfortable with that. I've added bacteria. I've done, you know, a 90% water change after five. I think it's about 5 or 6 weeks. So they're set up sort of mid-July, and we're ready to put shrimp in them. So 6-7 weeks, or coming up to 7 weeks. And the shrimp that should be going in these are orange eye red devils, and this rack's going to look lovely actually. This row on the rack, orange eye red devils in one, and dragon bloods in the other. So dragon blood calcios are going in those. I've spoken to somebody this morning I'm going to start doing my culling. So I'm going to start sort of picking through my fancy tigers and select, you know, to select some out. And likewise, I'm probably going to do something with my blues. What I may do though with my blues is I may put them all in the mixed tank and start with some crazy and ocean blues. So restart a colony and buy some more shrimp in. So I'm not 100% certain yet, or I may sell some of these off. There are some nice shrimp in there, but the genetics, obviously, if they've been crossed with bolts and steels and reds, they're not going to be as consistent as something that's been bred for a crazy blue line. So decisions to make. I've got this tank up here that's on the same soil as these, so this, I may end up moving those once this is cycled. It's hard to see in here, but I've got a bit of diatoms and plenty of algae going on. I need to give that a clean and test it and see where we're at with that. I think my master soil tanks should start to cycle now. They've been 5 or 6 weeks. They do leach ammonia, and the fact that this one here is cycled sort of suggests to me that these won't be far behind. But they did have a lot of ammonia, and I wasn't getting any nitrite readings at all from them. Didn't test for nitrate, probably should have, to see if the process had started, but still getting a lot of ammonia. I did sort of 50% water changes on those to sort of thin that down. It was about 4 parts per million, which is high, and obviously on a low pH, if you're not aware, cycles can crash at very low pHs. I've only had it happen with soils that go below 5.5. I've never had it happen with soils that sort of stay around 5.5 to 6. So, yeah, difficult one. I'm still sort of working through what I need to do. I need to change some lighting. So I need to get these tanks off the temporary lighting, and the small lighting that we did put on, it's just not powerful enough for what I want it for. And we'll see where we go, but I'll catch up with you later in the week. So for some unknown reason, the audio didn't record, so I'm using a new phone this week. I've got a Samsung S23. What I wanted to show you here was literally just the volume of water in the bucket. I should have shown you me sort of moving the shrimp, but I didn't have an opportunity to do that, or I did it before I realised that I hadn't recorded. And looking at the bucket, as you can probably see, there's 5, 6, 7 times more volume. And if we just have a bit of a look over and a look round the tank, so the new shrimp are in there, but trust me, and they're all sort of hiding. So we'll just give you a bit of a view of sort of looking at that. They do come out, they take a bit of time, to be fair. And in the process, then what I'm also doing is so shaky hands, I'm topping up that tank, so I'm using this opportunity to do a small water change. And what I never do is I never put the water back in the tank that I've dripped with, and always use that opportunity to sort of go and create a tiny bit of water change, even if I've already done a water change, you know. So camera's wobbly all over the place, can't remember what I was actually doing here. I haven't connected this up yet actually to the system at the top. I need to adjust the pipes at the back to get these tanks and the float valves fitted, and I do want to concentrate on just this rack and get this rack completely finished, get the covers on the front and so on and so forth. So I've started as well moving out the old tank that I've sort of stripped down. This was the PRL tank, and I'm in the process of sort of emptying that and completely cleaning that out. Have moved a double sponge out of there. I've took the UGF box out and I've moved that over onto that tank that's covered in algae. And what we'll do is we'll just get this cleaned out, reset, and I'll sort of go through the process of doing that with you guys and what I do to do that. So still need to automate my water systems a bit better, to be honest. I did put some ram's horns in here, and you can probably see some bright green snail poop all over the place. But they have made a bit of a dent in the algae, but not a massive amount. I probably could do with a dozen in there, if I'm honest. But this is a Tessel Aqua soil. So we'll get, excuse me, we'll get this tank drained. I siphon all the soil out and dispose of that ecologically. So it goes on the garden, if I'm honest, the soil. I've took some not ram's horns, I've took some assassins out of there, and I've sort of distributed them over a few of the tanks. And I've took a bit of wood out of there as well. I do want to dry that wood because it's got eggs and stuff on, and I just want to dry that out and make sure that if I use that piece of wood in another tank, all that's sort of completely gone. So I think actually what I'm going to do with this tank, and obviously I'm narrating this after the event, but I did watch a video by Shrimp Mania. He was in Singapore. He was with Derek from Shrimp's Affair, and Derek did something where he uses a UGF box but no substrate on the base at all. And I'm going to give that a try actually, and we'll see how that goes. Big shout out to Shrimp Mania and Derek from Shrimp's Affair in Singapore, and we'll give that a try. And if it works and it's successful, then we'll probably sort of move stuff over onto that as a reset. I'll go back onto that process. I do like a little bit of soil on the base, but as you can see by this one, it's sort of, you know, the water's washed it over. It is a very, very thin layer anyway. But we'll try a no substrate on the base and just in the UGF box, and we'll sort of see how that goes. Can't even remember what I was talking about on the video here, or otherwise I'd have filled that in. Yes, I probably think I was talking about adding PS Bacta to my top-ups and stuff. It's a photosynthetic one. It helps with algae growth and all the flora and fauna. And those up on the top shelf are all the products I use personally. I do mix it up a bit. So let's get this emptied and we'll get this cleaned. We'll set up a UGF box. I'll go through the process of how I layer that and set that up. I'm not sure what soil I'm going to use. I'm going to see what I've got available, and we'll we'll set it up based on what we've got there. Little bit of time lapse of me sponging the water and the bits of soil out of that tank.
Because of these corners, I can't lift that tank out without removing the middle tank, and I could probably slide them all over a little bit actually, but I can't even lift the back up to pull it forward because they are pretty tight in here. So I'm just going to carry on sponging. Audio is probably a bit low on this bit of video because I haven't put the microphone on. I'm just going to carry on sponging. I'll keep taking breaks because my back's in bits at the moment and I'm struggling with my legs, but I'll come back to it once we've emptied it.
So this is my UGF box that I've washed out. It is actually a Shrimps Affair one. I think this one got damaged when I posted it to someone and they sent it back. Well, I bought a pile of them ages ago, but my soil of choice is going to be Master Soil, just simply because I've got half a bag of Master Soil or a quarter bag of Master Soil left. I don't know if I have enough to fill this UGF box. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a layer in, then I'm going to put some Biobacter, thin layer, then I'll put another one, I'll put some PS Bacter, and I'll just build that up like a bit of a trifle, and then finally put that on the top, you know, put some soil on the top. I may run out of soil, and if I do, I think I've got a non-leaching soil available that's already open, so an aquasolum. So if need be, I'll top up with that. I'm not an advocate of mixing soils, but I monitor my tanks regularly. I know when things need changing, etc. And I'm a massive fan of aquasolum anyway. Doesn't leach ammonia, whereas Master Soil and my other favourite, ADA Amazonia, does. So let's get this loaded up. I'll show you the sort of end product and then what I have to do to get it into the tank, because it's a bit of a manoeuvre, but I'll show you that anyway. Well, I didn't have enough Master Soil in that bag, so there's it is in the bin, but I did have a small bag of Master Soil powder, so it's exactly the same soil, just with a smaller grain, but it's not a powder, it's just a smaller grain, but I quite like the smaller grain if I'm honest, and all I've done is I've just topped up. So these are the bigger grains. You can see I've layered through that, and then right at the top is the smaller grains. So we'll get that in the tank. As I say, I have to sort of do this a little bit weird, so I'm going to put the phone on the tripod, and I've got enough room to put it in at a specific angle, but I'll put the phone on the tripod and you'll see what I mean. So before we put that in, I mentioned I was going to put them on stands. So these are SL Aqua, can't think which one it's called, I'll mention it in a bit. So these are SL Aqua filter media. They're like a bio ceramic ring, that they're almost tubular. And what I'm going to do, I've already got 2 in the tank, I'm going to put 4 of those in, roughly spaced as to where I want them, and my UGF box will sit on top of those, so it'll almost just give it like a base to rest on. And I'll get the UGF box and I'll show you what I have to do to get that in. So when I distinguished or set the racks up, I made sure that I got enough space here for my hands and arms and stuff, and I then realised that I can't get a UGF box in there, but I didn't have enough space to put that full distance in. So they do fit. There's a couple of ways you can do them. One is to take the top section out, and the easiest way to get this in is to actually put it in. This is why I don't overfill them. Turn it at an angle, and then you can get them in and out for that matter. So that's exactly how I got that one out. So if you just excuse me for a second, because this is a bit heavy and I'm sort of overreaching. If I just get that onto those stands, and I'll put the top in ready to sort of filter, and we're obviously going to get this filled up shortly. But I've laid the bacteria in there, and I'm just going to sort of move these little cubes around a bit so I can get them roughly to where I want them. So that one's a little bit too narrow. Let me get another one. I want one a bit thicker than that. So they are in various sizes. These are just coming out of another tank that's got a filter in it with these in. So it's an open filter. So that's sort of where I want to get those. I might have to turn this one sideways. So one of them's a little bit thick by the looks of it. But it's just for a stand, it's just for it to stand on. And now what I've gone and done is put a bit of soil on the deck, which I really didn't want. But that's where we're at, guys. So I'm just playing around with those feet at the moment, and I'll get my sponge in because I've flicked a couple of grains of soil on there. I could leave them and just siphon them out when I do water changes, but this one's 5-6 week cycle roughly, and I'll keep an eye on that and we'll update you as we go. And as if by magic, excuse me, and as if by magic, the full bucket is now half a bucket, so I made a mix. So I do mix, and we've got I've done it on a tripod. Couldn't get it to balance the soil at the bottom, and that's going to really bait my noodle with OCD. So I'll probably siphon that out, but I'm sure the shrimp will move soil around anyway. So the only other thing I did, as you can probably see on the bottom, is I did sprinkle a bit of magic powder. Is it called magic powder? What's it called? Let's have a look. Yeah, SL Aqua magic powder. So it's enzymes and stuff that sort of help get a tank going. But give it a bit of a clean. Haven't scrubbed the walls, I've only scrubbed the front glass, and we'll just let that go. Put a date on it. So we're probably looking 5 to 8 weeks with that, but I'll keep an eye on it, and we'll decide what we're going to do with that. I may use the opportunity to move and sort out my crazy blues and stuff and move those over, but I'm tempted to just start a new colony with better genetics anyway. So I have to have a think about it. Might be selling that colony if I do that, but we'll see. We'll see how we go on. I'll end that section there, guys, and just looking around if there's anything else I can do for you. So I did do some tests. So this is the other master soil, and that's been going since July. It was towards the end of July, so we're probably 5-6 weeks in, and I've still got ammonia. Now I did do a 50% water change on that tank, and it was at 4, so it looks like it's on 2. I've added some more bacteria to that tank. I've also done this one, and these are the results for that one. So although that looks cycled, I'm not happy that it is, just simply because I did like a 95% in that, so I want to leave that another week or two. I'm in no rush. I'll just keep an eye on these tanks, and sort of they get done when they get done. I am tempted to move out my ghost bees and probably move my ghost bees down into that bottom tank, just simply because I don't think they're prospering well on that tropical soil. Just watching them and keeping an eye on them and seeing how they're doing, I think they need a lower pH. So I will move that. I will move those. I'm trying to find more ghost bees, if anyone knows where there is any. Could probably do with another 10, 20 at the right price, of course, trade. But I really need to sort of move those. I think that they're just not doing well at all, and just looking at them, they're lethargic. They're not moving around very well, and I have lost a couple. So really keen to get those out of there. I'll probably do that this week and just catch them and drip them over, but get them onto something that's more akin to a bee shrimp, and then probably use that as a tiger tank. I may even bring that up onto the top tank and put a new one in there, but pain in the butt to do that because I've got to empty that tank and pull that out to get that one emptied and pull that out. But you know, it is what it is. So if I need to do that, I'll do it. But that's enough for now. It's quite late in the day. I'm massively tired. Got bad back problems today, and I just need a break. So I'm gonna have a bit of a tidy up, put some lids on stuff, and call it a day. Catch you later in the week. Welcome back later in the week. We've still got no shrimp in here. My shrimp were delayed from where they were going. The tangerines are doing fine, and you can probably see a couple on the walls and a few on the filters around the back. The bee shrimp are now out of there, but what I have done is and they're active, I've moved the blue orange eyes out of the experiment tank. Just really need to keep an eye on whether there's any pregnant females in there, and if they do, what babies are they dropping. If they do, I'm going to completely just kill that tank off and put them into the mixed tank. I've moved my bees, my ghost bees, down to there. Still look lethargic, if I'm honest, so just need to keep an eye on those. There are only sort of half a dozen, so out of the 10 I had, I lost 4 water changes. So, and obviously I've built this dolly so we can sort of move that bucket around as and when we need to. Need to get to the point where I'm not using buckets anymore, and I think what I'm going to do is build something similar to this, but with like a little receptacle, and run a hose to drain. So when I do empty my tanks, what I can do is I can just siphon straight into a small bucket that runs to drain, albeit with the gauze in case I suck any shrimp up. So we're sort of getting there. I need help lifting these buckets. My nipper's still in bed late in the day. Xbox generation for you. But everything else sort of where we left it, I suppose. I've done water changes on everything, hence the orange spots, as I've mentioned in previous videos. And I need to put a spot on that one actually, because I have done a water change on that. But we've just got these left to do. So it's currently Friday. I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 5 to do with Carradina water, and then I tend to use that bucket and mix to do the Neo Carradina. And we've got a bit of a rabbit snail sort of gathering, and it's because I've put an algae wafer in there yesterday. Need to clean glasses and stuff. But yeah, we're doing sort of okay. Need a bit of a tidy up. I've got products, stock replenishment really coming in from Europe next week, and then I probably need to get another. I'm just looking around the room actually. Probably need to get another order in for some dry goods elsewhere, but I'm anticipating that next week we're getting in the Dragon Bloods and Red Devils, so hopefully we'll get those in place and see where we get. And with my other dry goods order, I'll order the tanks in for this top shelf, so that should then complete that rack, and I can adjust my pipe work at the back. It's the blue pipe work, get my valves in, and then that rack is really finished, and I can start topping up based on just connect to a pipe there rather than running this little contraption. And then once that's done, I'm going to try and encase that in or put covers on, as I've mentioned many times, and then it's on to that rack and try and get that rack finished, and then that rack and try and get that rack finished. So thanks everyone for watching. If you've enjoyed and you're not a subscriber, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's a bit of a bitty one this week. My health's not great, and we're pretty much just back off holiday, I suppose, so just trying to sort of get everything sorted. And I've got a video in the pipeline. I've got some recorded that I'm planning on trying to complete next week, so it should be a bit of a different video next week. I'm not going to give the game away as to what that video is about, but it's on a subject, and we'll sort of see where we go with that. I did have a bit of a go at this and try and get as much of the algae out of that as I could, and my OCD got the better of me, and I had to siphon out the bits of soil that went on the bottom. So thanks for watching everyone. Have a good week, and we'll convene next Sunday. Take care.